The following is a program of the Santa Barbara County Education Office. To learn more, visit sbceo.org.
Hello, I'm Susan Salcido, Santa Barbara County Superintendent of Schools, and I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Innovations in Education. Let's take a look at what's coming up. First, we'll check out the annual AuthorGoRound. Then, we'll visit a high school social science class. Recently, the 48th annual AuthorGoRound was held at the Santa Barbara County Education Office. This event offers students the opportunity to meet authors and illustrators up close and personal.
I want to welcome you to the 48th annual AuthorGoRound. AuthorGoRound is an opportunity for kids to interact with authors. We bring in 4 authors every year. Usually one of them is a local author here in Santa Barbara, others from outside of the area. And they come in here for 5 days, and we have between 120 and 150 kids each day. And they get a chance to talk to the kids and talk to them about writing books, talk to them about illustrating books.
Now, when I was a kid, I had a great imagination. And it helps to have a good imagination if you're going to make up stories. There's a very famous old dead guy, Albert Einstein. He said imagination is more important than knowledge, because knowledge is limited, but imagination is unlimited. That's very powerful stuff. In fact, if you think about it, everything man made in this room was once an idea in somebody's head. And that's a power we all have. So when I was a kid, I spent a lot of time with my best friend. Didn't care for books, but I loved TV. I would watch it morning, noon, and night. And then they found a book that really caught my attention. This little story here called Tarzan of the Apes. And I said, man, if this is what stories and books are about, I love books. That turned me into a reader. But something else happened, because my dad pointed out the name at the bottom of the cover, Edgar Rice Burroughs. He told me, son, that man is the author. And I said, that's great. What the heck's an author? See, I had no idea that there were people who created books. I thought it came out of a machine or something. But once he explained it to me that that was a job, you could use your imagination and make up stories, I said, hey, I've got a good imagination.
It never occurred to me as a kid that I could be a writer. When I grew up, parents and all the adults I knew had a job they did not like in the daytime, and any kind of art they did. If they sang or acted or painted or played violin, they did it on the weekends and at night. My first book was this timeless classic, What Like a Duck. So now I think I've written 18 novels and 4 picture books. Fan mail is a good thing. Sometimes those letters come that really rock us and give us reason to feel great. So my advice to you, number 1, if you read a book you love and the author is still alive, that's important. Write to them. Write to them. They love it.
I want to talk to you about the 5 secrets to being a writer. The first secret is that writers have ideas. And oftentimes, like Bruce said, we get the ideas through experiences. I get a lot of my ideas through reading. So I get ideas from other places as well as reading. I get ideas from my daughter. My daughter is a zookeeper down in San Diego, and she takes care of tigers. So I hear a lot of her stories about her animals and about other animals at the zoo where she works. So I thought, I'm going to write a book like Zoo Scientist to the Rescue. Another place I get ideas is from my son. He's now an adult, but when he was a little boy, he loved machines. Anything that had wheels, trains, planes, garbage trucks, ambulances, you name it, anything that had wheels he loved. So I thought I'd write these two books, one about trains and one about aircraft carriers and fighter pilots. And he's the one that helped spark those ideas.
I love to read and I love to draw. I've been drawing since as long as I can remember. And I was a very shy kid growing up in Holland, and I loved nothing better than just sitting alone in the corner drawing. And when I was 13, we'd been in the country for a couple of years. My mom would observe me spending inordinate amounts of time drawing and wondering, is he any good or is this all a colossal waste of time? So she sent some drawings down to the Disney studio. We lived up in Northern California, in Cupertino, and the studio wrote back saying, if you're ever in the Los Angeles area, you're welcome to come visit. So the following summer we did. We had a vacation in Los Angeles and visited Universal Studios and the beaches and whatnot, and we visited the Disney studio. And I met a number of animators, and I walked in and I was instantly in heaven. This is what I want to do. And they suggested that I could make my own little films out of Super 8s. So when we came home, my dad bought a used camera and built a little light box for me. And I started making my own little movies. So eventually, I started playing around with books. And this is the first book that I had published. And it's inspired by my son. At the time, we had chickens in our backyard, and he would chase them around and play with them, and gradually this idea evolved in my head about a kid living on a farm, which I managed to turn into a book and get published.
Then they get a chance to sit in kind of an intimate setting where the kids sit on a carpet in groups of 15 or 20, and they get a chance to ask them questions and to really interact with the authors. 2 years ago, we actually had an author come in and do this who was a Carpinteria elementary student here, and she and her girlfriend went through all the AuthorGoRounds and the breakfast with the authors. They got jobs as a teacher. One was a teacher, the other was a librarian, and now they're both authors. And I think when you think about why are we doing this, I think that's kind of the reason, is to give them a love for reading, a love for writing, and something that'll stick with them from elementary school all the way up into adulthood.
Today I met with a bunch of authors, and they told me about their writing life and how they got into writing.
I liked it a lot because I love to read, so it's really cool to meet some people who do what I think I might want to do when I grow up.
I learned many strategies how to write, like how each author has a different way of liking to write.
They gave us tips for writing. I learned that you can write a lot about different genres, and you have to research some things before you write about your favorite genre.
Why is one of your books in Korean?
Why is one of my books in Korean? Because you can buy a book that's translated. In fact, that's a whole kind of art, is translated. And since I don't speak Korean, I would never know if it really was the same as my book, exactly the story. Or maybe the translator can say, I didn't like that part, I'm going to make that better. When I was a kid, I never met an author. I didn't know regular people could be authors, just regular folks. So I assume that it's liberating for those kids who think that they would like to be an author. They say, yeah, I could do that. And also to know that books are written by people, that they're written different ways, different people have different approaches and different motivations, and that it's all good.
I remember as a 5th grader getting to go to the AuthorGoRound. It's one of my few memories from that period of my life, and I think there's such value in hearing people's story of how they came about the career that they end up doing. Particularly, I think if these kids have gotten to read their stories and get to actually meet the person behind it. At this age, they are already starting to think about what they want to do when they grow up, and it's neat for them to see somebody doing what they do as a grown-up and getting to hear some of the background and what has inspired them to be who they are. And I think to be part of the reading and writing process for any career is a valuable lesson to learn as well. And so I think it's neat to get these kids thinking about how to write down their ideas and what that might lead to in the future.
My books have quite a variety. I've done 50 books, so there's the whole range. Some of them are picture books with pictures on every page. Some are like this. I didn't illustrate this one, but it has a few full-page illustrations scattered in here. The importance of the AuthorGoRound is that it places an emphasis on reading and reminds all of us how important it is in our lives. And we get a chance to share that together, which is a wonderful thing.
Well, I tend to write about people who are saving the environment in some way, shape, or form. I think it's important to connect kids with authors. 4 authors talk about what they do, and then we have individual question and answer sessions with the kids from all over the county. And I answered some brilliant questions today. The kids were sharp.
So it starts off like all the other Fuddles books. Fuddles was a fat, pampered cat. And so here I had him lying here on the couch and with a fan on him, and some food there. A lot of the work that I've done on books, I learned as an animator at the Disney studio. So I love watching the world around me and get ideas from that, and especially my cat, my enormously fat cat, inspired me to do a series of picture books. The importance of this event, events like these, is to inspire kids to write and to come up with their own projects, whether they are books or even as an artist or even music, but to inspire imagination and for kids to find what really they are themselves all about.
What if this orphanage trained junior spies to become like junior James Bonds? And so that's where that idea came from.
And most of my ideas require research of some form or another. Even though the book is fiction and I have to find my way into the story, I'm still using a lot of that research to help me.
We all choose books by the covers. We have no choice. What else are you going to choose a book for if you don't already know about it? So we all judge books by their covers, but know that the author has virtually no say over the cover of their books. For instance, this is the cover I hate the most of all my books. This girl's parents are both veterinarians. She loves animals, has lots of animals. She's holding this bunny by the neck. You say, and so I called the publisher and said, no, this is not how you hold a bunny rabbit, this is how you kill a bunny rabbit. And so I think, you really have to change the cover. And they said, yeah, well, we hope you learn to love it. And that's the cover, and that was the cover forevermore.
AuthorGoRound is a wonderful opportunity for our students to get a chance to interact with published authors and authors of children's books or different genres of authors. Many of our students have that spark of being an author, and I think this is such a wonderful way to be able to nurture that spark and make it grow.
So we're trying to create a passion for reading with kids and let them know that reading can take them places they may never have imagined they could have gone. And that's one of the things I think last year one of the authors talked about is there a place that you want to go, a place that you want to travel, a pet that you would love to have that you never would be able to have or you would never be able to travel to. And reading kind of allows you to do that and allows your imagination to kind of set you free. And that's kind of the message we're trying to get across to kids is through reading you can go places you maybe never would be able to go.
My favorite thing was meeting everyone and asking about their strategies in writing.
My favorite thing has been meeting all these wonderful people.
My favorite thing about today was meeting the 4 authors and asking questions about their books and what they do.
So that we can get to know how to be an author so that we could possibly get into writing when we're older, and they're trying to open up opportunities for us, but also trying to just give us an idea of what we could do with our future.
My favorite part of the event is always fielding the kids' questions.
I love hearing from the kids.
Well, I'd love to be a writer because, well, it sounds like really fun, and I'd love to see smiles on people's faces when they read books.
Chris Mullin teaches social science at San Ynez Valley Union High School. Let's drop in on one of his history classes and see how the subject comes to life.
Welcome back, everybody. Let's see. Oh, behind me on the screen is one of your terms brought to life. It's a very important one to me, though. This is part of my heritage. Does anybody want to guess which term? Yes. My name is Chris Mullin. I've been teaching at San Ynez High School for about 22 years. Currently, I'm teaching all AP, though I've taught pretty much everything over the years. I have a AP European History for sophomores, AP US History for juniors, AP Government for seniors. It's a nice group of kids. Yes, it's the Easter Rebellion. Nicely done here, cool. But that was a good guess here. Does anybody know in what country Grant the Eastern Rebellion can be found? Ireland. Today I'm teaching the end of World War I in my AP European History class. These are sophomores. We're going to look at World War I a little differently, though. I've been wanting to do this for a while. They know it's coming. We've hinted at it. But today we're actually going to start by doing a little inquiry into and then a simulation surrounding the Treaty of Versailles, which brought the end of the war. So I thought we would jump in, look at all the issues they were debating and that came up, and see if that would be maybe provide a good lens for how World War I was fought, and also what issues went into World War I that are now percolating out of the other side. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to put 4 pictures up on the screen. I'm going to put a picture up there, and I want you to write in the box a general answer to the question. So for example, this picture that is on the top, but write down in your box what you think is going on. When is it taking place? Where is it? What's happening? Chat with somebody next to you. See what the two of you can come up with. Put your heads together. So today the kids looked at visuals. They looked at political cartoons and photographs of the era, did kind of a visual inquiry and let them first buy in by investing themselves in their curiosity in it. And then that helped them kind of understand what was going on. All right, we're gonna do another picture. This is what they're looking at. This is what's happening, but what is it? What's happening in here? Where is this? When is this? So they're looking through one of these glass walls right here. What's happening? What's your theory? Oh, what? Anna, is that what you thought it was too? How do you know about the Treaty of Versailles? Have you heard of it before? Oh, like the homework? Oh, really? Oh, gosh. It might be. In fact, it is. It is the Treaty of Versailles, and that's what we're going to do today. Okay, first of all, since you're on top of it, Anna, what is the Treaty? Anna, sorry. What is the Treaty of Versailles? What are they talking about? What's the whole deal with it? I have a few different areas where I'm trying to focus. One is on Common Core writing. And throughout the day, we looked at different ways that students could make claims and then establish evidence to support those claims in the same way that the English language arts Common Core requires. I'm also, though, trying to get them used to the AP European History writing rubric, which has a lot of this notion that you have to create context and a thesis, and you have to find evidence and use these nice analyses that try to make the evidence say something. So one of the things we were doing today was getting them to find their voice and to make transparent the kind of thinking that goes on when you're interpreting primary sources. They looked at several of them. Oh, that's what I've always hoped for. Tell me something about it, then tell me more about it, just like learning. At the other end, though, I'm trying to also keep the enthusiasm level up. I always feel like kids are more likely to remember their learning if they're enjoying the day. They're more likely to be attracted to the content if they're able to take part in it. We're going to go backwards. We've been studying all the forces like social Darwinism, imperialism, and militarism, well, mania, that have led into the led into World War I. And we've looked at some of the little revolutions that have gone in it. But now we're going to start and look at the treaty of it. And then we're going to use the treaty as a lens to look back. So today we get to act it out in a few minutes. But we have a couple more pictures to look at. But you will actually today, later on, become 5 countries. The big 4 are David Lloyd George from Great Britain, Vittorio Orlando, like Orlando Bloom, from Italy, Georges Clemenceau of France, and Woodrow Wilson from where? America's gonna go to France. Here's what America is doing. They're selling a lot of American stuff to the war in Europe. Like all of these American crops, because Europe's on fire. So America's like, we'll sell you soy and corn and steak. And the American farmers are making a lot of money. I want to look at 2 more pictures to get you into the mood of the thing. Okay, so first of all, look at this beautiful picture here. Take a look on your own. Each of these represents a different European country. None of them are Japan. And see if you can, based on your knowledge of the war, if you can see what they're doing, who's attacking whom, what they're dressed like and look like. See if you can figure out on your sheet who's 1, who's 2, who's 3, who's 4, who's 5, who's 6. One more picture. One more picture there. It's this one. Write down first before you chat with your neighbor here. What is the cartoon trying to say? Do you agree or disagree with it? Why or why not? So I've been teaching history for over 20 years now and love it. And I love science, I love literature, everything like that. So we have an outstanding group of teachers here. But I always feel like history is this, it's the glue or the ether that wraps around everything. When I teach history, we're looking at political history, but we're also looking at scientific history. We're going to study Newton one day, we're going to study Marx another day. So that when you study history, you've got to bring in all the social factors together. So I generally feel like if you study history well, it should not be in a vacuum separated from other contents. It should actually give some luster to or 3 dimensions to other contents that the students are learning about. That's why I love history. It brings it all together. Here's what we're going to do. I've created teams out of you. So take a moment and see first of all who your team is. You're going to have a task sheet of 10 things that you want to have accomplished. During the game, you want to get as many of these items accomplished as possible, and you get a point each time that it goes your way. So this is a competition to see anybody can win based on personalities and clever negotiating here. Okay, so read through your secret goal sheet. Don't let the other group see it. You have 10 goals you wish to fulfill, but you will need support from other countries to get them through. There will be a majority wins vote on each and every one. So each and every one. Cut deals ahead of time. So before we line up, I'm going to have 5 tables here. I'll have 5 placards up here, 5 hats up here. Before we actually send the delegates to the debate, you get to go around the room and meet with each other. Say, like, hey, France, come here, listen. If you support us on international colonies, we'll support you on something. And then you can kind of cut a deal there. Can there be backstabbing? Yes. Sometimes there is accidental backstabbing because you weren't quite sure what you promised you'd do.
Hey, do you believe their military must be
Then they role played. They became nations, and I added Germany, even though historically it didn't happen, and gave them the same issues that the real members of the Treaty of Versailles were debating and discussing. They got to move around and create partnerships and alliances and cut secret deals. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Treaty of Versailles. The war is over and we are figuring out what has happened there. What I'd love to know is how each of you feel about this upcoming event. Of course, we all want peace. We fought long and hard, 20 million dead. Italy, will you give your opening statement about peace in the world in the future?
Our conditions will lead to peace in Europe because it will decrease the probability of war in the future due to better kept country boundaries.
We are France. We believe in the Treaty of Versailles that we should have nationalism. Germany should be held responsible for all war damages, and that they should have a restricted military and lose the Rhineland.
England believes that Germany is fully responsible for the start of the war. We think all allies of England should be allowed to keep their colonies, while Germany should be forced to give theirs up. We will work through teamwork. We believe in the Treaty of Versailles.
We were acting in self-defense, okay? We fought a war on 2 fronts. Our country was destroyed. We suffered the 2nd highest loss rate out of all the European countries in the war. If we did not believe in peace, why would we be here at the negotiating table? We want one simple thing, to create the League of Nations. And to do this, we want to do this, prevent a war, and we're prepared to give up things. We're prepared to give up the Rhineland. We're prepared to give up our colonies. All we ask is to not be held responsible for a war we did not cause. If anything, it was Hungary and Serbia. We were acting in pure defense of our allies. We should not be held responsible and not pay the reparations or feel the effects of the guilt.
Nicely done. Very nice. Well said. Well said. All right. Well, what we're going to do now is we're going to go through each of these items. First one is war guilt. This doesn't have a financial penalty, it has a moral penalty, okay? The idea is the war is over, everybody's now meeting to figure out what to do. Some people thought that they should officially say Germany started the war. Let me hear from France. France, what do you feel about war guilt? Is Germany responsible? And then they voted. They voted to see if Germany would be saddled with war reparations, if the colonies around the world would be set free, and all the other issues that really did come up at the Treaty of Versailles after World War I. I love teaching. I'm very energetic and happy, and my hope is always that if I'm energetic and happy and making jokes, that will make the students at least feel happy to be here. I don't know, I can't say that energetic, happy teaching results in a higher level of learning. I feel like it does. I don't know, the data is not completely out on that. There's always this notion that if students feel comfortable in an environment and are happy to be there, that their effective filter drops, they're more likely to learn. So I've kind of been following that for the last 20 years. So when I teach, it's usually fun, energetic, it's very personal. I like to get to know the students and create an individual class community. So it's always my hope that fun teaching and animated teaching will result in higher student learning. What I would recommend is, as always, I will say my daily speech of, hey, you should take notes. Okay, good. Hey, taking notes sure helps you learn stuff. I love this. It's a great way to make a career if you feel called to it. I could have gone in a lot of different ways over the years, and I just keep coming back to the classroom. It's where I feel like I've been called to be. I feel like this is my place.
On behalf of the entire County Education Office, I want to thank you for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed this program and look forward to seeing you next time for Innovations in Education.